Afternoon, guys.
Afternoon, everyone. Two sections as usual. We've got an immediate section and a section in Barber till 10:30 this evening. Mark, do you want to start us off when everyone sits down?
Hi, man. You okay?
Afternoon, Mark.
Hi.
Has there been a real buzz around the training ground now that Premier League football is back?
Yeah, I think that's true to say. I think everybody was sick and tired of friendly games, if I'm honest. I certainly was. I think probably even a week before, and I was ready to go, certainly. So, yeah, it was nice to get off and running. Completely different intensity to proper Premier League games in comparison to friendly games. So, yeah, it was really, really good to get the season underway.
When you look back at the weekend's game, now the dust has settled, are there positives to take from it? Are you happy the way you started the Premier League campaign?
Yeah, I think so. I think we ideally you want to take maximum points from a home game, but I think people have to realise we're up against a team that's a little bit ahead of us in terms of competitive minutes, and I think certainly in the early part of the game, first 20-25 minutes, had a little bit more control than we'd anticipated, but from that point onwards I felt we gradually got back into the game, and then I made changes in the second half, and that allowed us to dominate the second half. So we're a little bit unfortunate not to get the 3 points, but as a start against a team that was ahead of us in the Premier League last year and ahead of us in terms of game time, I thought it was a decent enough performance.
How important are these early games for you to almost sort of formulate in your own mind the sort of systems and formations that you think you'd like to adopt this season?
Well, I think what it did show at the weekend was that we have the capacity and the ability to change mid-game if we need to change different formations or change personnel to have a different effect. Then we have that capability, and players are aware and alive to any changes that I make, and that shows that they've got good game intelligence. They understand when I do make changes, they understand the message I'm giving them. Clearly you try and give them the message through the players coming on, but on the field of play, sometimes those messages get blurred. They need to understand themselves very, very quickly what we're attempting to do if we do make changes. And I thought, to a man, they were able to embrace that. So that's a good trait. That's one that we'll use as the season goes on. I'm sure we've got to be able to change quickly and affect opposition if we feel a certain way of playing isn't working. It's something I've always tried to do. I've never been rigid in terms of one formation. That's the only way I play. I think you've got to have more than that, and you've got to have more strings to your bow.
You signed Danny Ings on deadline day, trained on the Friday, straight into action on the Saturday, which is great to see. How pleased are you with the way he's integrated into the squad? Yeah,
I mean, integration was never going to be a problem. I think he was welcomed with open arms, I have to say. I think I said during the week, even before he played at the weekend, that I think when strikers walk in the building, I think it just excites players themselves, fans certainly, and media as well. I think when strikers change clubs, it's always big news. And Danny was coming from a huge club as well, where things just went a little bit against him in terms of injuries and his ability to force himself into a very, very good team. So he's come here with a great platform for him to carry on his career. So we're delighted, and that integration was seamless, really. I was a little bit concerned because he hadn't had a great deal of work in pre-season, missed a little bit of it due to an ankle injury, but I was a little bit concerned about putting him on so early, but I felt he was ready. From what I'd seen on the Friday, he looked sharp and ready to go. He'd played 45 minutes, so in the end he was ready to go. He showed me that.
You talked about the importance of strikers there and the lift it gives everyone. For you as a manager, clearly you want to improve every player, but when a striker comes into the club that you're at, does that excite you personally, being an ex-striker yourself? Yeah,
I think so, and as a manager as well, I think you're adding to the capability of the team when you bring a striker. I like the fact that all my strikers have got different traits and different attributes, and that means individually they have different things they can bring to the party, but in terms of the different options I have now, I can pose different problems to different teams, so with different combinations. So the combinations I can actually put together are really interesting.
What's the Everton team news ahead of the weekend?
I don't know. I'm Southampton manager, so I don't know.
What's the Southampton team news ahead of the Everton game?
Right, we had a couple of issues after the game. Stuart Armstrong just got a knock, but thankfully he looks okay. He's trained well today, so we don't anticipate him missing out. But the only concern is Moy Elawanusi, who got a little bit of tightness in his hamstring. Trained with the physios today. I think fair to say it probably went better than he thought, or the physios thought. But we'll see how he is tomorrow. Clearly, he mustn't have a reaction. And even if he doesn't, I think maybe there's a feeling we are on the side of safety with him. But we'll see. We'll see how he turns up tomorrow.
What are your thoughts ahead of the Everton game? Obviously, they've gone from a manager in Sam Allardyce with one style of football to Marco Silva, another style of football. There's obviously a lot of integration and change over the course of the summer from one manager to the next. How do you think that will affect the game?
Difficult to say. They've made a big investment in the team and in the manager, by all accounts. So it may be that now's the best time to play them, given the changes that they've undertaken, and maybe mid-season they'd be better acquainted with the guys they brought in, and like I said, it might be the best time to play them. But games at Goodison, under whatever circumstances, are always difficult for opposition teams. So we went there last year under really difficult circumstances from our point of view in terms of our situation, and really played well on the day. We're very unfortunate to obviously concede very late in the game. That maybe might have been a fatal blow to us, but we showed great character after that to pick ourselves up and win at Swansea. So although it was difficult at the time, I think we drew comfort from the fact we played exceptionally well in that game. So more of the same hopefully at the weekend.
How much of a challenge does Marco Silva have on his hands, particularly when you look at deadline day, the amount of new faces that were brought into the club, at the last hour? He's now got to try and...
Yeah, well, that's the lot of the manager and the coach here. You have resources given to you that you have to work with sometimes. Sometimes they'll be your choice. Other times, if you're just a head coach, and sometimes players that maybe you're not endeared with, they come into the building. So it's a different dynamic sometimes. But I'm pleased to say that I've had an input in terms of every one of the players that have come to this club. So they're here to do well. But every player is different in terms of how they're able to deal with what is clearly an upheaval in their life. They're moving clubs, some are moving countries, going into a different league, a very, very strong league. So players can react in different ways to the same things. And for some, it's more difficult for that period of transition to overcome. But in the end, they have to do that, because if they don't, then they don't play in your team.
Just a couple of final points. Has there been any dialogue or discussion with you and the management team here about potentially losing any players to other leagues in Europe because of their openness in the transfer window still?
Yeah, we just discussed that. We made a point of informing everybody that unless we feel we want to do business, from our point of view, the door is closed on any club coming for our players. We could well look at loan opportunities for some of our players to move to get game time, but it won't be a case of trying to get people out of the door. In terms of what we're doing now, the group I've got, albeit maybe with a couple going out on loan, the group I've got is what I will have until at least January. So that's the message we're giving to any clubs that might look at our players.
And one game in, it's still early doors, but what's the target for Southampton this season? Obviously you survived last year. How much would you like to build on that? What is the reason for you?
Yeah, clearly we want to do much better than we did last year. We view last year as a setback, clearly, to where the club wanted to be, but more a lump in the road, so to speak. And now we want to get back to the path and the road that this club's been travelling on for the last few years, which means we want to be in the top half of the Premier League, hopefully competing for European places.
Thanks, Mark. Paul?
Mark, you've talked about the result at Everton back in May and how it helped in the long run in a way, but can you tell us your emotions last time you were in that dressing room?
Yeah, it was a difficult one. From memory, it was. I think it was a case of looking back on it, and it's a recent memory. So the abiding memory from me was the disappointment I felt for the players themselves, because they put such a huge effort to try and get us over the line, and obviously circumstances we couldn't legislate for the goal. Those things happen in sport. You can do everything right sometimes in sport, and things conspire against you, and you lose games even if you've done everything correctly. So it felt like a harsh blow given how we performed in the game. But the impressive thing from my point of view is how well we recovered from that. We could have at that point felt that maybe it wasn't going to happen for us and we weren't going to be able to stay in the Premier League, because when things like that go against you, it's very difficult to bounce back. But I have to say, to a man, they use it as a motivation to get ready for the next game, Swansea.
It's not a ground where Saints have had much luck. I think only 4 managers here have ever won at Goodison. I know it doesn't mean anything, but you yourself, have you had much there as an opposing manager?
From memory, yeah, I've won there a number of times. You'll have to check. It's probably the optimist in me probably thinks it's more than it actually is, but. Yeah, it's a ground I always loved going there. Listen, I was a player there, and I love being a player there as well. Fantastic crowds and knowledgeable crowds, like to see good football, and they enjoy seeing good football, even from opposition teams, if I'm honest. So it's a proper old style ground. Clearly, they're looking to move, which on a lot of levels is a shame, because it's part of football history in this country, Goodison Park, but. Yeah, that record, I think, I was told it was about 1967, I think, was the last time we won there in a home game. So it'd be nice to turn that around.
You could come up against Kurt Zuma, who you signed last year. You talked him up in the biggest terms sort of this time last year. Did he live up to your expectations?
I think Kurt came and did well up to a point. Clearly the club were relegated, and defensively, if you look at the record of the team, it wasn't what he needed to be to stay in the Premier League. So he's obviously plays a part in that. But I think from his own personal point of view, he came to play games, and he played something like 30, 35 games, I think. You'll have to check that. But that was after a serious knee injury as well. So from his point of view, on a personal level, maybe not on a collective level, he will have felt that it was a really good loan move for him.
And what about your own new centre-back here? How pleased were you with Yannick?
Yeah, I think Yannick will get stronger as he gets to know the Premier League. Early days for him in terms of the work that he has to do alongside the other guys in the back 3, back 4, wherever we go with. But I thought it was a promising start. You can see he's a guy that wants to compete. Great physical presence, clearly, because he's a big guy. But he's a young man still who wants to develop and wants to be a success in this league. So we'll benefit from that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Move on to the second section, Bargain to 10:30 this evening.